Alright, good day students. As you can see, what we have today is nth root of 0, 1 and the minus 1. The secret to know about the nth root of 0, 1 and the minus 1. In this case, n is the number we selected. It can be 0 plus or minus 1 plus or minus 2 plus or minus 3 and so on and so forth, integer. Or it can be a fraction, rational numbers, plus or minus 1/2, plus or minus 3 over 5, plus or minus 7 over 9, any fraction. So let's begin with the nth root of 0. So in this case, we have the nth root of 0. We can select when n is equals to 0. If n is equals to 0, so we have nth 0. The root of 0 is equals to 0 raised to power 1 over 0. Is it not? So we have what? 0 to the exponent of 1 over 0. So in this case, we have that we know that 1 over 0 is indeterminate. So we have to what? 0 to the power of indeterminate. You can still confirm this with your calculator. 0 to the, what do you have? So is equal to what? Indeterminate or undefined. So you have what? 0 to the power of indeterminate is also indeterminate. Indeterminate or undefined. So that is what you will have. So this is the first thing about the nth root of 0 when n is equals to 0. So what when n is equals to, what if n is equals to a positive number? In this case, plus 2. If our n is equals to positive number, in this case, plus 2. So we have what? This implies that the root, what I say, radical of 0, square root of 0, this will give us what? This will give us 0, because this is 2. So it's already, we have half, 0 raised to power half, and we have done that when a number 0 is raised to a power of positive number, the result will give us equals to 0. So we have what? 0. Unlike when we have 0 here, when the root is 0, we have indeterminate. But when the root is what? A positive number, and positive, when n is equals to positive number, in this case plus 2, you have that 0 is to power half as the root exponent. This case rational number is equals to 0. So but what when n is equals to, if n is equals to 3 over 5, so what will happen when n is equals to 3 over 5? You have what? 0, you have 3 over 5. So in this case, you have 0 raised to power 1 over 3 over 5. This will give us 3 over 5. It gives us what? 3 over 5. So from here you have 0 to the power of 5 over 3, because this is 1 divided by 3 over 5, that is the reciprocal of this number, will give us 5 over 3. So power to the 0 to the power of 5 over 3 will give us what? 0. So this is the first thing you have to, or the second thing you have to know about 0, the nth root of 0. So when n is equals to negative number, if n here is negative number, what will happen when we have negative number? So what happen in this case? Let's clean here. What happens if n is what? A negative number. So we have negative what? Number. So n being a negative number, in this case minus 7, we have what? Minus 7 and 0 as there. That the nth root of 0 in this case is minus 7. That is 0 to the exponent or radical of minus 1 over 7. 0 to the exponent of or radical of minus 1 over 7. So how do you resolve this? If you solve it, you have 1 over 0 to the exponent of 1 over 7. So if you do it, you have 1 over 0, and this will give us what? Indeterminate result. This will give us indeterminate result. So 1 over 0 will give us what? Indeterminate result. When n is negative number acting as the root of 0, we will get what? Indeterminate result. So having understood up to this extent, let's consider the next thing we have, which is what? Which is 1. So let us begin with 1 now. We have done 0, so let's begin with 1. So I can kill it here. So in this case, if you are given the nth root of 1, in this case when n is equals to 0, what will happen? If n is equals to 0, in this case we have what? 1, and here is 0. Writing it in radical form, you have 1 raised to power 1 over 0. This is how to write a root. So we know that 1 over 0 is indeterminate. That is 1 raised to power indeterminate. And this will give us what? The result is equals to indeterminate. So 1 to the power of indeterminate will give us the result is equals to what? Indeterminate. So this is for nth root of 1 when n is equals to 0. So but when n is a positive number, what happen? If n is a positive number, for n equals to positive number. So let's say when n is equals to 4, in this case we have the nth root of 1, and then we have the nth 4 here, because n is 4, is it not? So if you write it in radical form, this is in the radical form. So if you write it in exponent form, you have 1 over 4. 1 raised to power 1 over 4 is equals to 1, because we are saying that when a 1 raised to power of positive number, the result is equals to 1. Raised to power positive or negative number, as long as it's 1, the result is equals to what? 1. As long as the number or the base rising the power is 1. In this case, whether here is negative or positive, we arrive at what? 1. So let's look at another example. When n is equals to 1 over 19. If n is equals to 1 over 19, what do you have? So in this case, you have a net root of 1. We have what? In this case, we have 1 over 19. Here is 1. So from here, you have 1 raised to power 1 over 19. And this gives us what? 1 raised to power 19. So 1 raised to power 19 is equals to 1. So any number, whether negative or positive number today, as a power, acting as a power to 1, the result is equals to 1. So let's consider when n is equals to a negative number. If n is equals to negative number, n equals to negative number. In this case, I can clean here. So if n is a positive negative number, what happened? N is equals to -6. So in this case, we have a net root of 1. In this case, we have -6. We have -6 here. We have 1 here. So this will give us 1 to the power of -1 over 6. Is it not? So if we are talking of negative number, so from here you have 1 over 1 to the power of 1 over 6, and this gives us what? 1 over 1, and the result is equals to 1. So you see, for negative and positive number, whether fraction or real number, your answer will be 1. The answer will be 1 in as long as the base is 1. You will arrive at 1 as long as you are talking of 1. So, have any question? So I can clean here. In general, for 1, I'm talking of 1. In general, when n is equals to 0, in general, for 1, when n is equals to 0, in this case, you have, is it not? When n is equals to 0, in this case, the result is indeterminate. If we are talking of 1, when n is equals to plus or minus what? Plus or minus, this is positive or negative number. Positive or negative number, the result is 1. If n is positive or negative number, we have what? Positive or negative number here. Positive or negative number. The result will give us 1. So that is it. This is for a net root of 1. Having understood it, let's look into the next thing, which is what? Minus 1. Can kill it here. So let's look into the next thing, which is what? Minus 1. Alright. So here we have what? Let us begin with what? Minus 1. We have done 0 and 1. The next is minus 1. So we have a root here. A net root of minus 1. Is it not? A net root of minus 1 when n is equals to 0. This begins with 0. So we have a net root of minus 1 will give us a net root of, that is 0 root of minus 1. If you write it in the radical form, you can write it as in the exponent form for clarity. So you see that this will give us minus 1. 1 divided by 0 will give us indeterminate. You have what? Indeterminate value. So this gives us minus 1 to the power of indeterminate is indeterminate. So that is it. Have any question? So let's look at when we have n to be positive number. Let's n to be positive number when n is positive number. So in this case, let n is equal, let n be 5. Let n to be 5. So we have n here, we have minus 1. So we have, in this case, we have 5 minus 1. You can write it in exponent form for clarity. You have 1 over 5. So if you solve this, if you look at it here, it's always good to look at it when it is a positive number for minus 1, not 1. This will give us a result of complex number. Result will be what? Complex number. That will give us a complex value. So in this case, for a positive number, we choose n equals to 5. If you put it in the net root of minus 1, resolving this, we will get what? A complex number. So that is it. This is for the net root of minus 1. So let's look at another example. So we will say that when n is what? Negative number. If n is negative number, in this case, let our n equals to minus what? Minus 3 over 7. Let n be equals to minus 3 over 7. So we have n here minus 1. So we have minus 3 over 7 minus 1. So what will happen? If you resolve this in exponential form, you have minus 1 to the power of minus 3 over 7. You have what? 1 over minus 1 raised to the power 3 over 7. So from here you have what? 1 over the root of minus 1 raised to the power 3. Here is 7. Sorry. So this will give us what? A complex result. This will give us a complex result, a complex number, a complex result, or a complex number. So that is it. So the first is you have homework. Sorry, 1. You have here is 0 minus 0, have 0 plus you have another one. Sorry, 3 is 3, and here is 0. So the second one, you have second question, you have 1 to the power of 1 over 2023 plus the, here we have what? 1 over 12. We have 1 here. And lastly, last but not the least, you have root, here is 0, 1 to the power of 29. This is to test in all we have done. To test your ability in all we have done. This is minus 1 to the power of 1000, and we have here 0. So, and lastly, number 4, you have minus 1 to the power of 36 over 108. This is the power. So please do this for me, do this homework, just 4 questions. Once you do this, it becomes very clear that you already understand the concept of nth root of 0, 1 and then minus 1. Do them. If you have any question, you come to this channel and ask the question, comment on the box for the solution. You can as well visit us in our website www.mazananews.com. Register there for monthly edition. It will help you a lot in mathematics. We have done a lot and we have helped many students as well. Before you go, click the subscription button, subscribe to my channel for more videos for your views, share and like, click the notification button for update. Whenever we have updates, you'll be the first to receive it. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Before you go, click the subscription button. Bye for now.